going to go over writing the equation of a line in slope-intercept form given 2 points on the line. Now, normally to write the equation of a line, you need two pieces of information. You need the slope and you need the y-intercept. We're not given the slope, we're not given the y-intercept, but we may be able to find some of these. Since they gave me 2 points that are on this line, I'm actually going to use the slope formula to figure out what the slope is. Remember, the slope formula, you take your y's, subtract them, put it in the top of the fraction, take your x's, subtract them, put it in the bottom of the fraction. My first y is -8 minus my second y. I'm going to take my first x, -3, minus my second x. I do the math in the top, -8 minus 31, -39, divided by -3 minus 10, -13. I can actually divide these numbers. I'm going to do that. Divide those and I get +3. So now I have half the information I need to write the equation of this line. Remember, I need the slope and I need the y-intercept. So I've got the slope. I'm going to use this formula, y is equal to mx plus b, to determine what the y-intercept is, because this b represents the y-intercept. I plug in information that they give me in the problem in the rest of the formula. M represents the slope, and x and y represent the coordinates of a point. They gave me 2 points. It doesn't matter which one of these points I use, as long as I just use one of them. And remember, these numbers go together. That means if I use this y for this one, I have to use the x as well. Same with this one. I'm just always going to pick this first one right here and use it. So what's the y for this first point? -8 is equal to, m represents the slope, we figured that out right here, times the x, remember I'm using this first point, plus b. The b represents the y-intercept, that's what I'm about to find out. -8 is equal to 3 times -3, -9 plus b. I need to solve this for b. Add 9 to both sides. -8 plus 9, 1. The y-intercept is 1. So now I'm ready to write the equation of a line in slope-intercept form because I've got my slope and I've got my y-intercept. To write the equation of a line, start off with y is equal to. Then you write down the slope, which is 3, put an x beside it, and on the end you write the y-intercept, which is +1. There is the equation of this first line that goes through these 2 points right here. Example number 2. I'm going to write the equation of a line in slope-intercept form that goes through these 2 points. Again, to write the equation of a line, you need 2 pieces of information. You need the slope and you need the y-intercept. They didn't give me the slope, they didn't give me the y-intercept, but I can take these 2 points and use the slope formula to figure out what the slope is. Remember, to figure out the slope, you take your y's, subtract them, put them in the top. Take your x's and subtract them, put them in the bottom. Y minus y, x minus x. So to use this formula, I take the first y, -14, the opposite of my next y, the opposite of -16, +16, divided by my first x is 3, and the opposite of my next x, -6. -14 plus 6 is +2. 3 minus 6 is -3. So the slope of this line is -2/3. I've got half the information I need. I need the slope and I need the y-intercept. I'm going to use this formula since it has a spot for the y-intercept. I'm going to use this formula to figure out what the y-intercept is. I'm going to take a y. It doesn't matter which one of these I use. I'm just always going to use this first point, and I'm going to plug that information into this formula. My y up here is -14 is equal to the slope, -2/3. And the x for this problem, remember I'm using this first one, is 3 plus b. Negative 14 is equal to, I need to take negative 2/3 and multiply it to 3. So negative 2/3 times 3, I'm going to write 3 as a fraction, 3 over 1. I multiply the top numbers, I multiply the bottom numbers, and then I divide. Another way of doing this, because we're going to get situations where you're going to have other numbers and you don't have a calculator, there is another way you can do this. Notice I multiplied and then I had to divide. What I'm going to do is I'm going to divide first and then multiply. So I'm going to divide, I can't divide these numbers, but I can divide these numbers. This is the number I'm dividing by, the one in the bottom. 25 divided by 5 is 5. 5 times 2 is equal to 10. Let me go through that again. I have to divide by 5. I can't divide this number by 5, but look, if I wrote this as a fraction, that 25 would be in the top up there. 25 divided by 5 is 5. 5 times 2 is 10. This will work with any fraction. 4/7 times 49. Because I'm taking a whole number and multiplying it to a fraction here, so I need to practice this. I can't divide these numbers, but I can divide these numbers. 49 divided by 7 is 7. 7 times 4 is 28. Let's try that again. I'm going to take 3/13 and I'm going to multiply it to 39. If I did this way up here, I'd have to take 39 times 3 and then divide it by 13. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to do my dividing first. 39 divided by 13 is 3. 3 times 3 is 9. Let's try another one. 1/9 times 18. I can't divide these, but I can divide these. 18 divided by 9 is 2. 2 times 1 is 2. So when I'm doing these problems, this is the technique I'm going to use. One more. 3/4 times 12. 12 divided by 4 is 3. 3 times 3 is 9. So when I'm doing these problems, this is what I'm going to be doing. I'm going to go 3 divided by 3 is 1. 1 times negative 2 is negative 2 plus b. Because I'm not going to use a calculator to figure this out, and I'm not going to write this out here on the rest of these problems. I need to solve this to figure out what the y-intercept is. Add 2 to both sides. My y-intercept is negative 12. Negative 14 plus 2 is negative 12. I've got the two pieces of information I need to write this equation. Y is equal to, I put my slope right here, negative 2/3. I put an x beside it, and then I put the y-intercept down here on the end. Example number 3. I need to write an equation for the line that goes through these 2 points, and I need to write it in slope-intercept form. That means I need the slope and I need the y-intercept. It didn't give me the slope and it didn't give me the y-intercept, but it gave me 2 points. And I can use the slope formula to figure out what the slope is by using these 2 points. Remember, the slope formula tells me to subtract my y's, put it in the top, subtract my x's, put it in the bottom. My first y is 15. And this formula tells me the opposite of my next y, minus 25. My first x is 18. The opposite of my next x, the opposite of negative 27, positive 27. 15 minus 25, negative 10. 18 plus 27, 45. Always reduce these fractions. What number will go into both of these? 5. Divide both of these by 5. Negative 2. Divide that by 5. 9ths. Negative 2/9 is my slope. Remember, to write the equation of a line, I need a slope and I need a y-intercept. I'm going to use this formula to figure out what the y-intercept is. I'm going to take this first point and I'm going to plug it in here. I'm going to take my slope and plug it in here, and then I'm going to solve it for b, because b is my y-intercept. My first y, 15. My slope, negative 2/9. My first x is 18 plus b. So I'm going to use that technique right here. I'm going to take 18 divided by 9 is 2. 2 times negative 2, negative 4 plus b. I need to solve this for b. The opposite of negative 4, positive 4. 15 plus 4 is 19. My y-intercept is 19. To write the equation of a line, start off with y is equal to, write down the slope. What's the slope on this problem? Negative 2/9. Put an x beside it. Here on the end, you write the y-intercept, positive 19. This is the equation of the line that goes through these 2 points right here. I'm going to write the equation of a line that goes through these 2 points, and I'm going to write it in slope-intercept form. To do this, I need to figure out what the slope is, because they didn't give me the slope. So I'm going to use the slope formula to figure out what the slope is. The slope formula tells me I take my y's, subtract them, put it in the top. X's, subtract them, put them in the bottom. My first y is 19 minus my next y is 0. My first x is negative 13. My second x is 0. 19 minus 0 is 19. Negative 13 minus 0 is negative 13. My slope on this one is negative 19/13. I've got the slope. The other thing I need is the y-intercept. How am I going to figure out what the y-intercept is? I'm going to use this formula right here to figure out what the y-intercept is. I'm going to take my first point and plug it in here. My first y is 19. My slope, negative 19/13. And I'm going to multiply it times my first x, negative 13, plus b. Again, 13 divided by 13 is 1. 1 times 19 is 19. A negative times a negative is a positive. Bring down my 19, bring down my positive b. To solve this, I need to subtract 19 from both sides. 19 minus 19 is 0. My y-intercept is 0. I have the 2 pieces of information to put in this formula. To write the equation of a line, start with y is equal to. Write down your slope, negative 19/13 x. And then write down the y-intercept. The y-intercept is 0. Remember, I don't have to write zeros, so I'm not going to write 0. This is the equation of this line that goes through these 2 points. They want me to write an equation of a line in slope-intercept form. They've given me 2 points. They haven't given me the slope or the y-intercept, and those are the 2 things I need. So I'm going to use the slope formula to figure out what the slope is. The slope formula tells me to take my y's, subtract them, put it in the top. Take my x's, subtract them, put it in the bottom. My first y is 37 minus my second y. Well, that means the opposite of this, positive 27. My first x is 15 minus, well, I've already got a minus and a minus make a positive. 37 plus 27, 64. 15 plus 9, 24. Remember, I need to reduce these always. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start reducing it by 2. I'm going to divide this number by 2. 6 divided by 2 is 3, 32. Divide both these numbers by 2, 1, 2. Okay, continue to divide this by 2 until I can't reduce it anymore. 32 divided by 2, 16. 12 divided by 2, 6. 16 divided by 2, 8. 6 divided by 2, 3. So this is my slope. I've reduced this. I simply just kept dividing those numbers by 2 until I got this right here. Not only do I need the slope to write the equation of a line, I need the y-intercept. And I'm going to use this formula right here to figure out what the y-intercept is. I'm going to take this first point and plug it in here, and this slope, and plug it into this formula, and then solve for b. My first y, 37. The slope, 8/3. And my first x, 15, plus my y-intercept. I need to multiply these together. I'm going to go 15 divided by 3 is 5. 5 times 8 is 40. So I'm going to put 40 right there, plus b. To solve this, I subtract 40 from both sides. 37 minus 40, negative 3. My y-intercept is negative 3. So, to write the equation of a line, start with y is equal to, write down the slope, which is 8/3, put an x beside it, and then write down the y-intercept, negative 3.